It's for me.
Yes.
Then he said, not for me though.
Yes.
Then he actually paused for a second. What acknowledgement about that? Since you forgot
accepted my
Monday,
fate.
you are likely to forget it's Friday and it's going to. No, we don't allow you to forget.
There
it's
is
Friday.
no way I'll forget.
Yeah,
There's
we'll
no way I'll
remind you.
forget. Yeah. Anyway, listen, we've got a lot to get through today. We are focused on the report written by Professor Frimpong Boateng and submitted to the Chief of Staff in 2021 of a catalogue of events that occurred during his chairing of the Interministerial Committee for Illegal Mining. And there's a lot in there we need to break down. We've got a great person to help us with this. He's a retired captain, Jamal Tonzua Seidu, and he's got quite a lot to share with us because he was an advisor to government during this process of setting up Operation Vanguard and all of that. We've got a lot to learn from him about how things went down. Stay tuned for that very educational conversation. But first, now is your time to enjoy the Royal Foam mattress at an affordable rate. Things are really hard and prices of goods and services are on the rise every day, and that's why Royal Foam is bringing you an Easter sales promotion. They call it Wonsuwum Renye. Well, it's no longer Easter, but the promotion continues. It's your time to enjoy a 10% discount off the current prices of their mattresses. 10% off mattresses with free pillows in addition. So rush to all Royal Foam shops and get a 10% discount on every mattress purchase, as well as every mattress coming with a free pillow. Call them on 020-227-1000 for more information. Royal Foam, rest assured.
And the Ghana Revenue Authority wishes to remind all income-earning individuals, including self-employed entities and all taxpayers, that by virtue of the Income Tax Act 2015 Act 896 and the Revenue Administration Act 2016 Act 915, they are required to file a return of income with the Commissioner General not later than 4 months after the end of each year of assessment. So, for example, individuals, companies, entities, and all taxpayers whose accounting year ends on the 31st of December 2022 are to submit their annual return of income for the 2022 year of assessment and other outstanding returns not later than 30th April 2023. Taxpayers are also required to file their monthly VAT pay-as-you-earn, CIT, and withholding tax returns and make payments of the taxes by their due dates. GRA strongly encourages taxpayers to file their returns online via the Taxpayers Portal, which can be accessed on taxpayersportal.com, or download the Ghana Taxpayers app on Google Play Store or App Store. We further remind taxpayers that failure to file returns attract sanctions such as the imposition of penalties and interest, enforcement, and prosecution. Kindly contact GRA on office or call GRA on toll free 0800 900 110 or WhatsApp 0552 99000 or 0200631664. Send an email to info@gra.gov.gh for further enquiries.
Okay, some interesting information here from WAEC, the West African Examinations Council. They wish to remind all stakeholders that the WASI and BECE for school candidates 2023 are available to students in the third or final year of senior high school or junior high school only. The council is cautioning all heads of schools to desist from registering unqualified candidates who are not in their final year or are not bona fide students of the school in question for the WASI or for school candidates or the BECE for school candidates. This is against the rules and regulations of the examinations. Remedial students who have previously written the WASI for school candidates are advised to register for the WASI for private candidates. It's also illegal for parents to withdraw their awards in final year in public senior high school to private senior high schools or from private junior high schools to public junior high schools to register for the examinations. Heads of schools are encouraged to make a report to the council on candidates in the final year who do not take part in the examination in their schools. Stakeholders and general public are hereby notified that the appropriate sanctions shall be applied against heads of schools, non-school or unqualified candidates who engage in this malpractice.
So don't you just hate it when your favorite live soup or tomato stew tastes a bit off because you use chicken that is not just fresh? Well, we at La Bianca Company Limited have good news for you, because La Bianca introduces you to its latest product made right here in Ghana, Akoko Tasty. With Akoko Tasty, every chicken meal will be a delight. We offer well-bred and slaughtered fresh chicken to suit all your needs. In need of wings, quarters for your barbecue, gizzards and breasts for your stir fries or sauces, just try Akoko Tasty. We offer all chicken parts for your culinary needs. To order, contact La Bianca on 0505 431111 or 0500 660144, or visit our facility at the Tema Fishing Harbour. La Bianca, your #1 frozen foods company.
All right, listen, we're about to get into it. A conversation with an ex-military lawyer who advised government on Operation Vanguard. Lots of insights, lots to learn when we come back from these messages.
Kofi, Kwame, you know, I know, Adjoa knows. Even Brima said it yesterday that millions of Ghanaians are taking the COVID-19 vaccines, and they all say it is the right thing to do. It is safe, so take your ID and go to the nearest health facility
or any COVID-19 vaccination center
to get the jab. It will protect you from being knocked down by the disease or even going on admission. Protect yourself and protect your family. If you had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, then you can go for the booster shot after your first dose. The vaccines are there, they are safe, and they are free. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your community. The COVID-19 vaccine reduces the severity of the disease and prevents hospitalization.
This message is brought to you by Ghana Health Service, Good Life, Live It Well, USAID and partners.
Eid Mubarak, breaking the fast. So take what you need fast from Toshiba and Media and Toshiba Eid Mubarak promotion.
Assalamu alaikum, assalam.
599 Ghana cedis is for a Toshiba standing fan forever. 849 Ghana cedis at Toshiba microwave. Get a Media tabletop fridge, 1,999. It is necessary. A Toshiba fridge this Eid Mubarak will take care of your friends and family and cool everybody down. Media chest freezer, top low 4-burner gas stove, grill and solo microwave. Your top class Toshiba and Media showing love this Eid Mubarak. Call 0242 439 437.
Charlie, so it's actually raining and we can't hear any sound. As for this your house, when it's raining, no sound. When the sun is up, the interior is cool. What roof are you using?
They use Ico roofing shingles from Interface Limited. Long lasting and beautiful.
Ico roofing shingles. We all for move to Interface and get this Ico roofing shingles.
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook Interface Limited GH. Instagram Interface.limited.
Everywhere and anywhere I go, I see
Fortune rice. It needs just a little water. The greenstone stick and the aroma and taste are delicious. Fortune rice, always on point, just like mom.
Now introducing Fortune Emuka, your tasty Ghana rice for all your rice meals.
This advert is FDA approved.
Just like mom.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today. 0302 200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
We shouldn't have gone to that party.
Massa, my head is killing me.
Is that your stomach?
Yes.
What did you eat?
I don't know. Get rid of your gastric problems with number 10 liver salt. Number 10 gives you quick, effective relief from nausea, indigestion, heartburns, hangovers, and hyperacidity. And with different fruity flavors such as orange and lemon, it's a pretty tasty way to end an uncomfortable situation. Number 10 liver salt from Ernest Chemist, because everyone needs a chemist.
This advert has been vetted and approved by FDA. Anytime is a good time to have a break. Introducing Munchie Anytime Crackers. It's perfect for break times, party times, movie times, and snack times. Savor the moment. Enjoy Munchie Anytime Crackers anytime. Munchie Anytime Crackers. It's light and tasty.
This advert is FDA approved.
We need to stop illegal mining.
Coffee in your cup. Joy on the second. The Super Morning Show is always the best. On Joy 99.7 FM.
Something they worry with, you know I gotta say. I saw my wabba, no what Frank galamsey. To start it all off, I for try to explain. Small scale, no, yeah, one large scale. Illegal mining, only you galamsey. But if you ask me, they all in the same. Guilty.
You're welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We're so glad you stuck with us since morning. It's about to pay off because this conversation is one you would have kicked yourself for missing. Look, we all agree that priority one from 2017 has been to fight and win against galamsey. The president said so. In this speech that has been re-quoted and referenced until there's nothing left. But, you know, often we play the part where he says he's willing to put his presidency on the line. What you may not realize is that in that speech, he said a lot more. Here's a little bit more of it.
The cabinet, when we decided the time had come for us to put the weight of government behind the decision to try and stop illegal mining in galamsey, we composed a cabinet of very responsible Ghanaians, headed by a very renowned, eminent figure in our country, Professor Frimpong Boateng. And they are the ones who then designed a program for us of what we needed to do to try and arrest the menace and preserve our heritage. In the course of it, Professor Frimpong Boateng goes on to a meeting, a conference in Abidjan, and there the Ivorian leaders tell him, you people are not helping us. This illegal mining that is taking place in Ghana is beginning to affect us, our water bodies and our space in Côte d'Ivoire. Rivers, waters, even forests. They don't know national boundaries. They run across nations. And there he was, very embarrassed, very apologetic that the activities of Ghanaians is jeopardizing the space of another fellow and neighbor country in our region. That's how serious the matter is. Rivers that have been with us for centuries are drying up. Forest areas, which we should preserve for the sanctity of our life and our environment, being devastated by this phenomenon of galamsey. And all kinds of people from all aspects of our national life are involved in this exercise. Security personnel, political leaders, businessmen, and dare say it, Nananum, some are all involved in this. So we sat down, we said to ourselves, we have a responsibility. When you take the oath that you are sworn to protect the integrity of the nation, Ghana, you swore to uphold its constitution, you swear to uphold its sovereignty. That is that the care of the nation, what's in it, its people, its resources, its nature have been put in your care temporarily as a trustee, like Nananum are trustees of the lands on which they occupy for their people. So you are too at the national level a trustee of the lands and the resources of our nation. So you ask yourself, how best can you discharge this trust? You sit back and say, well, all these young men don't have anything to do, so let it go on. At least it's better that they're earning something than they should be at home and perhaps causing other kinds of problems. When you know that the activities that they're involved in are jeopardizing the very survival of our nation, I took the decision that that would be a betrayal of the trust that the Ghanaian people put in me on the 7th of January this year. And as a result, we established this committee within the government to design a policy for us, not just to stop it, to reclaim the land, to let our rivers work again, but also to see how we can figure a way for all these able-bodied young men who are involved in this activity to find an alternative livelihood. So it's a package. It's a package that we have designed to try and bring this menace to a conclusion. I've said it in the cabinet, and perhaps it's the first time I'll be saying it in public. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do. Fortunately for me, in this fight, I have great allies. First of all, within my government, the people who are in the front line of that, all of them are here. The Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for Water Resources and Sanitation, eminent Ghanaian, responsible Ghanaian, who have gone out of their way to lead this crusade. But from the beginning, they said something which is the reason why you're here today. We cannot win this fight without the support of the traditional authorities of our country.
President had a lot to say there. It's not just his presidency that he put on the line, but he called the whole nation to action. He listed what is now common knowledge, that people from all walks of life are involved in galamsey. He talked about political leaders. He talked about chiefs. He made the point that Professor Frimpong Boateng made in his report in 2021, that all kinds of people were mining illegally. The president knew this as far back as 2017, when he called us all to action in this fight against galamsey. But now, if Professor Frimpong Boateng's report is to be believed, the whole thing was a red herring. And that the things that needed to be done in order for this fight to succeed never got done. And today, now that Professor Frimpong Boateng's report has come out, all we've got so far are denials. Denials, denials, denials. From the presidency, from others who have been mentioned in the report. So was it all a sham? I'm very glad that our guest is here to help us navigate at least one aspect of the answer to that question. Let's say good morning to ex-captain Jamal Tonzua Seidu. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Kojo, and good morning to your audience.
Indeed. Ex-captain Jamal is a lawyer. He used to be a military lawyer. He was brought in to advise the government on the legal basis for Operation Vanguard. My understanding is you were brought in a year after Operation Vanguard started.
Precisely.
Okay. So as far as you're aware, for a year, there was no clarity on the legal component for Operation Vanguard.
Obviously.
Until you and others were brought in.
Right.
Interesting. Let's start from there. What were you told when you were brought in? What was asked of you?
Well, could you let me say that the soundbite or whatever recording that you played was that speech was delivered at a time that I was in the military academy. So the exciting part of it is that I came into the theater with a very open mind. Professionally, I have to approach tasks with an open mind. So I had no biases whatsoever, no confirmation bias. I had no negativity bias. I just was told one morning, just when I was about to end my regimental officer training at the 3rd Battalion of Infantry in Sunyani, that the Army headquarters has inserted you at Wawasi in Obuasi. And that was really, really unsettling because at the time, within military circles, it was very disturbing to be told that you're going to work with Operation Vanguard because there were so many frustrations. And my curiosity was, why and who would have thought that I would be the best person to set up a legal office when there was none prior to the moment that I just talked to you about? And so I'm like, who is trying to make me uncomfortable? Because I've just finished orienting myself in military circles, so why are they inserting me there? In any case, I'm still a junior at the bar, so is it that someone wants to embarrass me, or is it that I'm not going to be a serious person? Yeah, was I set up to fail? And so those were the things going on my mind. But I reported back at the general headquarters and spoke to a few seniors, asked them, what is the law on Operation Vanguard? And there was so much confusion. No one knew what the law on Operation Vanguard was. Question, what is our mandate in all of this? No one had an answer for me.
You didn't know your mandate?
At best, I was given an opportunity to see the operational order. But there was really...
And in that operational order, didn't you see your mandate in there?
The Commander-in-Chief has tasked the Ghana Armed Forces together with the Ghana Police Service in a joint operation which was codenamed Operation Vanguard, to combat illegal mining. And that was it. So, so from the strategic level, that was it at the operational level. And so I had to be at the tactical level, as a we call that a staff officer to the commanders at the HQ.
So help us understand, at this point where the only thing that exists is an operational order, what is missing? What are the necessary components that are missing? When you say there is no law, so what does it mean? That the Operation Vanguard does not know what their jurisdiction is, who they can arrest, what to do when they arrest them? Is that what you mean when you say there's no law?
Well, I think the way you have framed it is how I thought about it at the time, because given that it's a matter of such serious importance, you would want to have a sense of clarity on who does what and how and when. And so if the military and police were inserted in the theater, that's in the areas where you had illegal mining operations going on, what was the mandate of the military? What was the mandate of the police? So what I did was that I'm going to be a staff officer, I'm going to advise on the law. And so I immediately went to the assembly press and bought all our mining laws at the time up to that date. And so seized with that, I reported at the headquarters in Obuasi. And, there was no office, there was no legal office attached to the operation. And so I had to set up one and just figure it out myself.
And this was after the operation had been going on for 1 year?
Yes, indeed. Okay. But at the time it started, I was still undergoing training at the military academy. So what I did was I reviewed the laws, and then I called for crime officers from the police element of the joint task force. And then I asked them, how do you go about this work? What are the failures? How can we correct them? And how can we make this whole exercise a meaningful one? So they converged at the headquarters from 3 forward operating bases. There was, we call them FOBs in our terms. There was FOB West in Takwa, FOB Central, somewhere around Chichirwe, and then FOB East in the Koforidua area, and then FOB Ashanti, which was in Obuasi. So and that also doubled as the headquarters.
Right.
So what he told me was that, look, based on the mining laws, they had apprehended some suspected illegal miners.
Okay.
And the numbers of these miners were over 1,000, in excess of 1,000, if not even about 3,000. And they had also impounded some mining equipment, notably excavators, Shangfang machines, and water pumps, and even weapons and explosives. So I found that to be fascinating. And I'm like, so how many convictions have you secured so far? And the number was appalling. So out of thousands of arrests, out of the several mining equipment that were impounded, which in legal terms you would want to think of that as exhibits or possible exhibits during prosecution, we did nothing meaningful in terms of, or the operation that I had just entered at that time had done nothing meaningful in terms of convictions.
Do you have a memory of about how many convictions at the time out of the over 1,000 arrests? And
I can tell you that 100 would be just an overstatement.
Wow.
Yeah,
So less than
100.
10% of the arrest had led to prosecutions and convictions.
Right. And at the time, I remember there was just one judge. So these offenses were usually, prosecuted at the circuit court, mainly in Obuasi and at Ashanti Bekwai. And there was just one judge who was sitting in both courts. And so there was a backlog. You had interferences with, the evidence and, so many limitations.
Let me ask you this. So we observed throughout the lifetime of Operation Vanguard that there were different approaches to the strategy of prosecution. The arrests and seizures kept going on, but there were different approaches. At some point, they were seizing excavators and equipment. At some point, they started burning them. Was any of this based on your advice? The burning of excavators, what was the legal backing for that? Were you aware of this? How did we come to that point of burning what should be evidence and exhibits, like you said?
Well, probably that was why I was inserted. That was why the legal office was set up. And that's also indicative of, the fact that probably the exercise itself, the operation, was not thought through. If you recall, this joint task force was set up in 2017. At the time, I was in the military academy. I was inserted in 2018, a year after it was set up. Now, when I got out of the academy, I remember reading reports about the burning of excavators, and that was really shocking because it flies in the face of our property laws, even constitutionally protected rights. If you suspect someone is committing a crime, the way to go about it is not to really deprive them of their constitutionally protected property rights, right? So that in itself didn't make sense to me. In any case, we operate a political system, a constitutional order that is based on the rule of law, that there should be predetermined rules, pre-established rules that would govern matters ahead of time. And so, in my estimation, whatever would be done by state authorities should be sanctioned by the law. And so if someone is engaged in illegal mining, what do the laws on illegal mining prescribe as the punishments for that? So when I entered and I thought that we needed to remedy this unconstitutionality, what I advised was that, look, we cannot go beyond the sanction regime prescribed by the mining laws. And I thought at the time, and I still believe in that, I thought if we hadn't even tinkered with our laws from that point, even until now, the laws would have been adequate to take care of the matter. What I mean by this is, so you have a law at the time which said that, look, when an illegal mining operation is going on, any property or equipment associated with the illegal mining, irrespective of ownership, would be impounded. And when a conviction is secured, what you would have is that the property would be confiscated to the state. And I found that to be exciting. And so it doesn't matter even if whosoever is arrested is just an agent of some, person that we cannot see. It doesn't matter that the equipment there do not belong to who has been arrested. But insofar as, there is suspicion that illegal mining is ongoing, the equipment should be impounded. And if the persons who were apprehended, or any one of them, is convicted, then the property would be confiscated to the state. And I found that to be very exciting. In any case, what you had in reality was the predominance of foreign nationals in the business, in the enterprise, and by definition, that was illegal mining. In any case, what you had was dredging in riverbeds, and by definition, it's illegal mining. In any case, what you had was mining in forest reserves, and that by definition was illegal mining. And in any case, there was a fiat on mining activities in some of these areas. So there was even no question, or there shouldn't have been any question about, do you have a license? So it looked like, so licenses were suspended. So there was even no question of whether you had a license or not. So that should have really been a very easy and simple exercise, very straightforward exercise. In fact, why I think that the operation wasn't thought through is that I given how important this thing is to our governance at that high level of government, I don't understand how you can mount such an operation without at least thinking about the cost effectiveness component of it. Because look, you are going to be looking at so procurements were made, for vehicles, land cruisers, troopers, for the police and the military elements. I mean, the taxpayer paid for that. Fuel will be burned to run these vehicles. The taxpayer paid for that. Uniforms will be procured, ration, the health needs of the troops, and allowances were given to troops on the in the field per day. So
why is that not cost effective? Because we're looking at protecting our water bodies and our environment. We cannot put money to that, can we?
Thank you. Cost effectiveness is simply this: that we had secured we had apprehended a substantial number of suspected illegal miners. We had a lot of exhibits. That should have been a good basis for prosecutions, and the law was deterrent enough. And if we had followed through with those prosecutions, we didn't need any more apprehensions. We didn't need to apprehend any more illegal miners, and that itself would have solved the problem.
Are you suggesting that, based on the kind of arrests that you saw, if we had prosecuted those persons, it would have been enough to deter others from getting through, and it would have been enough to stop us from going back to combat illegal mining with Operation Vanguard? Precisely.
Look, think about it. How much does an excavator cost? And of the thousands or hundreds of excavators, if we had just convicted any of the suspects, any of the equipment related to that case, once conviction was done, confiscation. And if these excavators never got back to their owners, just think of it. Human beings are rational actors. We act based on incentives and disincentives. Now, if you lose 3 excavators or 10 excavators, because even your agent was convicted, I don't see why that would not be a good disincentive for you to engage in illegal mining. And
if you just joined us, we're talking to ex-Captain Jamal Tunzwa Seidu. He's a lawyer. He was brought in to advise Operation Vanguard on the legal component. We've already learned quite a lot from him. Very surprising detail. But there is more. So whatever you're doing, don't go far. Just get yourself a cup of tea and stay right there, because when we come back, we're going to delve even more into this and get an understanding of why fundamentally the fight against galamsey has failed. Stay with us.
You need to ask yourself, where do you want to go? No matter who you are, trust yourself. Dream big. Break the rules, not the laws. Keep pushing. Everything is possible. Trust yourself. Life is about confidence. Africa, it's your time.
Son, live with confidence.
Are you tired of feeling left behind when it comes to your finances? Have no worries. CitiSpay is here. We provide credit solutions for both business owners and salary workers. We offer loans within 24 hours at the lowest rate. Visit our website www.citispay.com.gh and choose what is right for you. Call us on 0595 738121. CitiSpay. We leave no one behind.
Introducing the new Techno Spark 10 series. Enjoy a long-lasting 5000 mAh battery capacity plus 18 watts charging pad in an ultra-sleek 6.7-inch Full HD screen with a storage galore of 256GB plus 8GB. You can save every memory and never lose any. 32 megapixels glowing selfie camera and 50 megapixels AI rear camera. Get your Techno Spark 10 series. Visit the nearest Techno accredited shop and join the glowing selfie gang.
Hey, Charlie, the journey to your house is not for mere mortals. Going through more trotros than the number of people you have dated. The sandwiching of strangers with peculiar body colognes. Hey. Let's not mention the buga skills your trotro drivers demonstrate on the road. The number of mates misses out to your final bus stop. But you've got this. Wake up your vim with Lucozade. Because with Lucozade, you always make it through. Lucozade, restore your energy. This advert is FDA approved.
Someone smells great here. And fresh, my love. I wish I could stay in the shower all day. I know, right? Nothing beats a bath with geisha soap. It smells so good, it lasts long, and it's enriched with natural ingredients that work wonders for my skin.
And it now comes with a fresh new look, giving us even more reasons to love our geisha bar.
New and improved geisha soap. Great new look, better fragrance, same natural ingredients, still all last time. This advert is FDA approved.
Be strong and last long. Like geisha.
Blood is life. Everybody needs blood to survive. In sickle cell disease, the red blood cells become fragile and break down easily. This leads to low blood levels known as anemia. Do you know that blood transfusion can save lives? But sometimes the blood banks do not have the needed blood and money becomes of little relevance. That is why the International Sickle Cell Center and Airtel Tigo are pushing the Touching Lives initiative to raise awareness. My name is Dr. Mary Ansel. Donate some blood today to save lives. To learn more, visit www.iscc.international.
This initiative is brought to you by the International Sickle Cell Center, ISCC, in partnership with Airtel Tigo Touching Lives.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Super Morning Show. You're welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy. 10 minutes past 9, and we are having a conversation that you really ought not miss. So, Professor Frimpong Boateng's report is out. Everybody is responding, reacting. But the simple question remains, why? Why did the fight against galamsey fail? we're looking at an aspect of it, the operational aspect of it, what they did on the ground, Operation Vanguard. Our guest is the man who was brought in by the military to advise them on the legal component of Operation Vanguard. Bear in mind, he was brought in a year after the operation started, and he came to meet several inefficiencies, and he sought to correct them. But in that process, he learned a lot about the reason why today we are describing it all as a failure. Ex-Captain Jamal Tunzwa Sedo is our guest, and he's telling us a lot. Winston.
Yeah, so, Captain, you see, if we had done a few things well, we wouldn't have, there would be no need to continue, because then it would deter a lot from getting involved. So let's look at a thing or two. Why didn't you secure the prosecutions, the convictions that you wanted? What was wrong with the prosecution?
Right, so think of it, if the mandate of the military, well, let's even go it this way. The troops were, the matter was securitized, and the troops were supposed to literally get these people, the illegal miners, out of the field.
Sure.
That was the mandate.
Yeah, that was your mandate
of the troops. Now, even as a lawyer and in the military, I have no power to prosecute. Now, those who were prosecuting these cases were mostly inspectors. Now, they have no, formal training in law. They are not technical people in that sense. They may have some familiarity with the criminal procedure, but the substantive law, they would obviously have limitations in that regard. So, for instance, one thing that I observed in my very first few days was that even the charges that were leveled against suspected illegal miners were defective, because the Minerals and Mining Act, I think Section 99 or so, was amended by a subsequent legislation.
Sure.
And so you would even find a charge which would not say Section 99, for example, as amended. And so on a technicality, that could even be shot. That would not be, a good charge.
But you were there, so...
Yeah, but I'm talking of things that I observed prior to going in there. So one thing that I did was, after every operation, I would follow through, go to the police station, and then want to see the statements and the charge sheets, and to help the police draft these charges. Now, another curious thing was that I wonder what orientation people were given, and whether there was someone thought that there was a need to build capacity in that regard, because, like I said, there are obvious limitations of some of the police elements in respect of the substantive criminal law. And so if you are combating illegal mining, you want to think a bit broadly. You want to think beyond just beyond infringements of the Minerals and Mining Act, and you want to think about violations of our forestry laws, violations of our water laws. You want to think about even violation of our immigration laws. Like I told you, most of the elements who were involved in these operations were foreign nationals. So, I mean, you would want to really think creatively about whether there were violations of our immigration laws in terms of did these people have entry or stay permits? Did they have work permits, and so on? And so, in order to really get the law bite and be effective, you want to think about, drafting as many charges as possible. So you go to a site, you find a suspected illegal mining operation. You're thinking of charges along the lines of violations of our mineral laws, charges along the lines of our water laws, because floating platforms are mounted on riverbeds. You want to think about the timber that has been cleared for the earth to be dug, and the earth that held the timber resources. So did you have any timber rights, for example? And so, if you say you were a cook in the field, most of the foreign nationals who were caught would allege they were just engineers who had come to service mining equipment, or they are cooks who were cooking for some foreigners. But you want to ask basic questions like, how did you come into Ghana? Is your stay regularized? Do you have a work permit to work as an engineer in Ghana or a cook? But you would find charges just, ABC was engaged in illegal mining contrary to Section X of the Minerals and Mining Act, and which section would even be a good section because it has been repealed. So you must actually refer to the precise, or the revised kind of provision. So I detected these, and I was helping the police to draft some of these charges. But that was beyond my mandate or our mandate, in all honesty. But that was a national cause, and we all needed to go the extra mile.
So listening to you, you're telling us that we needed more competent people to prosecute these persons. Did you make this recommendation since you were helping? Did you actually inform the committee, the Attorney General, on what was going on?
Yes, I did. But remember, we are in I was in a regimented institution. This was a young captain in his first year in the rank, working as a staff officer, reporting ultimately to a colonel, the colonel, there was no way to bypass the colonel and report to even my department or even the headquarters at Bema camp. And so I wrote 2 memos. I think one of them had to do with an analysis that said that, look, even though the police have the power to prosecute, but they have limitations. So I wouldn't use the word incompetent. I mean, it's just they've not had that training in the substantive criminal law. And we understand these things, and we are very serious people. The military is a very serious institution. I must commend the military for its work there, but it also had its own limitations. But it had to do with how institutions collaborated on that occasion. And so my advice was that we can prosecute these offenses. In fact, we should not be thinking about boots in the field. We should be thinking about emphasizing and enhancing the criminal justice aspect of it. Like I told you earlier on, enough or substantial arrests were made, substantial confiscations were made, there are exhibits, we have courts, and so let us prosecute these, and that would have a deterrent effect.
How long did you serve in this role?
A little below 6 months. Okay. I think at least 4 months. Okay. I think I had 2 tours.
So during your time there, you obviously reported everything up the chain to the colonel, your commanding officer. Did you feel that any of your recommendations were adopted?
Some were adopted. So there were 2 main recommendations. One of them was that I instituted a standard operating procedure which said that, look, once you go on operations, the platoon commander comes back, the platoon commander should complete a certain form. And it was just to strengthen the evidence. I didn't want the lapse of time to make people doubt what they saw in there. So you come back, you report, and you account for all that you had seen there. Interestingly, we had elements from at the time, the Directorate of Public Relations, who would video and take photo shots of all that took place during the operation. And that was good evidence. And in addition to that, I needed, these platoon commanders who had gone with the troops to also, put something in writing. And then that would form a basis for me to do follow-ups at the police, stations and so on and so forth. And also to take stock and inventory of the confiscated items. But the second one, so the standard operating procedures were adopted, but that was just almost before, that was actually immediately after I made the recommendation. But the second one, which I think was also crucial and would have helped so much had to do with the request for a fiat from the Attorney General's Department to permit whosoever was advising as legal officer or to empower that person to prosecute.
Right.
I mean, we are trained in the law. It's our own classmates who are at the Attorney General's Department and who are prosecuting. And but I mean, as a military lawyer, you cannot prosecute. So it's almost like saying you have no agency in court.
Right.
You go to court and you have no audience. The basic things like you see a frivolous application for the release of an excavator, and you have the evidence to draft an affidavit in opposition to that application, and you want to submit that and argue in court that this is unmeritorious, but you cannot do it because the law just says you cannot prosecute. And we were not saying make military lawyers prosecutors. We were just saying military advisors to the joint operation who are lawyers, at least make that person, empower that person to prosecute. And by our laws, you just need a fiat.
Did you apply for this fiat directly, or again, did you send it up the food chain?
The command chain, yes. I sent it through the chain of command. I remember I was invited to the general headquarters at the time. The chief of staff was Beck Bafo. He invited me. He himself was a lawyer. So from Obuasi, I was invited by the Director General of the Joint Operations. At the time, he was one Brigadier Poku. He invited me because of my memo, and I appeared before him. He matched me to the Chief of Staff, and we had a 10-minute conversation. And then he told me that based on the insights that I had provided and the importance of what I had requested for, he would add me to a delegation that would be visiting the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. But that never happened. I honestly don't know what happened in between then and now. But I was hoping that we could get a fiat. And like I'm saying, if we were really serious about, combating illegal mining at the time that we instituted Operation Vanguard, we didn't even need boots in the field. We didn't need any further arrest and seizures and the impounding of equipment. All we needed to do was to consolidate the gains that we had made by way of arrests and the seizures. And so in terms of how that policy was formulated, I would say that by what metrics were we going to evaluate the outcomes? Because it's not just a set of activities, right? I'm thinking that if it's coming from that high office, it's going to be, okay, right? So we have certain activities that we think would bring about certain outcomes. In the intermediate term, we would evaluate those outcomes and see whether they will point towards the final outcomes. And so what metrics were the policy makers relying upon for us to succeed in this fight? Was it just arrest? Was it just seizures? And I think that would have been wrong.
That's a very interesting question, bearing in mind that the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation was a member of the Interministerial Committee at the time. If you just joined us, we're talking to ex-Captain Jamal Tonzua Seidu. He was legal advisor to Operation Vanguard, brought in a year after the operation started to set up the legal component for this operation, the legal backing for this operation. We're learning a lot from him.
So, Captain, how do you come by the conclusion that we didn't need a lot more boots in the field and we could have just consolidated the gains? How do you come by that conclusion?
Well, like I said to you, you just want to think about it in terms of cost effectiveness. So the final outcomes that we needed was to bring the situation of illegal mining and the environmental devastation that accompanied it to the barest minimum. That was the final outcome that we needed. Sure. And so with limited resources, how can you achieve this end? So think about the procurement of Land Cruiser troopers. Think about, allowances for boots in the field. Think about, ration for these people. Think about uniforms. Think about even other, aspects of national life that we could deploy these troops to. And if you could do away with that, but rather use or consolidate the gains that you had made within 1 year to achieve the final outcome, in terms of cost effectiveness, I think that would have been cost effective.
So that's what my question is. Those gains, how are we going to consolidate them? In what ways are we going to consolidate them? Because these are people who, even during a ban, were still on the field mining. And so how are we going to do that? I mean, if the arrests were not deterring enough, how else were we going to do that?
Well, so these are matters in the public domain. You would remember the issues relating to the Upper Praman forest and the Cobro forest. The arrests, and that's why I asked about what metrics were we working with. The arrests mean nothing. If you arrest, say, 10 foreign nationals who were operating with, say, about 7 excavators in broad daylight, captured on video, with pictures and all that, and with troops who had first-hand knowledge of this and can testify in court, and within a day or two, you would find that bail is granted to bail applications are made, and these people are released, and excavators the exhibits have been moved. What do arrest and seizures really mean? So these same people will get back into the field. So it is, if the law was biting, that because you are mining, you've lost 7 excavators, and because you are a foreign national and you are mining, you're going to jail for 15 years maybe.
And you're saying there was only one judge presiding over these cases?
Yes, Justice Naura. He's now at the court of the High Court.
Did you? I mean, and in the Paparama forest that you talk about, for instance, in one of the videos, you saw some, persons you saw some persons in military with military uniform also in one of those videos. Did you at any point in time meet military persons protecting people mining in these forest reserves?
Well, they were captured on video. So
I said, did any of these come to your attention while you were there?
With the Cobro forest, yes. By the time, so you would have an operation that would be mounted, say, at dawn, and by the time all the suspected illegal miners bundled together and the excavators are pulled out, you would find your colleagues in uniform who would appear, and you'd wonder how they appeared there. But
what did they tell you when they appear?
Well, let's no. I do not want in this conversation to go beyond what is in the public domain, right? So I'll just leave it at that.
But the public is interested in some of these things. I mean, they ask these questions because sometimes and that's why we're asking you.
So I think you want to fill in the gaps with what Professor Frimpong Boateng has put out there, or what the report or alleged report has put out there, that you can plug in the holes. But
okay, maybe let's do it this way, because you were a legal advisor.
Yes.
So you've based on the legal framework that you have established or set up for this operation, they go out to seize equipment of those who are mining legally. Then military men and women protecting those who are mining illegally turn up. How does that get resolved? In that example that you have, how did it get resolved?
Well, I was just a staff officer. Upper Praman, for instance, it's one of those. I mean, it's in the public domain. I'm not talking about it. So you'd find a signpost of the Forestry Commission saying Upper Praman Forest reclamation. Yet intelligence would get to the troops, and the troops would mount an operation, go to this alleged reclamation site, meet some state officials of the security services, providing protection, layers of them, eventually getting there, and then indeed illegal mining is taking place. Joy FM has captured some of these things on video. How they were resolved, I can't pretend to know, because I'm just at the tactical stage. At the operational and the strategic level and all that is in between that and what goes on, I was never privy to any of them.
I do understand your situation, because for some details that were not in the public domain, you have to remember that you were legal counsel, if you will, to the operation, and so I understand your limitations there. Look, let's wrap up with this, okay? Because our time is almost up. But this is the key thing. You've explained why it didn't work, why there perhaps wasn't any need for an entire military boots on the ground operation. You've also talked about how prosecution is where the focus should have been in order to make meaning of all the arrests. Today, looking at what we have in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, does it seem to you that the failure to do what was obviously the right thing was deliberate?
It does. Point is, like I keep saying, and I'm now wearing my policy hat. If you have a situation and you think that how to resolve it would be to securitize the situation, you want to ask yourself, what has been the history of this and what has been the history of securitization? There was Operation Halt 1 and Operation Halt 2, which were to combat illegal logging and to combat illegal mining. So one very simple way of thinking about Operation Vanguard was that it was a scale-up of Operation Halt 2. But you want to ask yourself, what lessons from Operation Halt 2 would inform a scaling up of that? And how would you want to modify it to fit the current situation that you have? And so for me, coming from such a high office like the presidency, where I want to believe that serious and competent people are working and advising, I want to see someone ask questions like, what inputs do we need? What outputs do we need? What activities do we need to see? What would be our intermediate outcomes? And what will be our final outcomes? And in terms of the lesson learned, if we even use the same kind of mechanism for Operation Halt 2, we would understand which mechanism led to which outcomes, and then think about how to modify it appropriately. So the mere fact that we had lessons from Operation Halt 2 to learn and to inform us as to whether it was justifiable to scale up a security operation. It's something that my mind cannot explain to me. How come we are just, gone to the extent of a joint operation?
So you feel it was it was deliberately set up to fail?
I would say so. And one thing, there was two other things. One had to do with tough wars, that I don't understand why the Attorney General's department would not give a fiat to another government lawyer who is willing and capable and available and motivated to prosecute such offences.
You have to first know whether or not
again
the request got to the Attorney General's
it did. My officials told me it did, but they told me we would never get it. That was not the first time they had made such an application.
And finally, the other point.
Well, you just made me lose my thought.
I'm so sorry. You said that there were two things. First of all, you don't understand why the fiat was not granted.
Yes, and secondly, if you looked at the entire setup, you would want to see some effective collaboration between institutions like the Forestry Commission, the Minerals Commission, the Water Resources Commission, the Police Service, the military. You want to see capacity being built. You want to know, who has what role, so that the whole team effort would be effective, but that was obviously missing. And Professor Frimpong Boateng's report actually said that even some members of the Interministerial Commission Committee on Illegal Mining, they were not really proactive. If not, they were even missing in the whole effort. And so collaboration, inter-institutional collaborations, and then the spelling out of rules and making sure that there will be synergies. That was missing. And so it's common sense that these things would be needed for us to have the kind of outcomes that we needed.
All right. I want to say a big thank you to you. I wish we had more time. Ex-Captain Jamal Tunzwa Sedu was legal advisor to Operation Vanguard. He's giving us a peek behind the curtain to understand how things were working, or more accurately, not working on that operation, for which reason today we have a failed fight against galamsey. Stay with us. There's more to come on the Super Morning Show.
Adwa, Grandma looked very peaceful.